The cat was let out of the bag this week, with EA forced to reveal Battlefield 4 a little earlier than anticipated. Developers show their support for OUYA, while others get a little upset at Microsoft. An 18-year-old dies following a marathon gaming session in Taiwan. Games make a splash in Hollywood. Former Epic developers introduce Lili, while the voxel agents introduce cute trains. Valve is working towards Linux support. JoJo gets another bizarre adventure, and DICE reassures everybody that Battlefield 3 still has plenty of life left in it, all in this week's edition of Player Attack. Hi, I'm Jessica Citizen. Battlefield 4 is real. Not only that, but it's hitting beta sometime in the first half of 2013. The unexpected announcement was accidentally leaked by publisher EA when someone updated the Digital Origin store with details on a new promotion for Medal of Honor. Turns out, by pre-ordering a copy of Medal of Honor Warfighter, you will pick up guaranteed entry into the Battlefield 4 beta when it kicks off next year. The Origin announcement was deleted pretty quickly, but EA bit the bullet and formally announced the game's development just a few days later. We haven't really been told anything else about what's in store yet, no details on setting or storyline, but we can confirm that Battlefield 4 will use the super shiny Frostbite engine. Also all over the news for a second week is a crowd-funded Android-based console, OUYA. With donations from more than 40,000 people bumping the project up over $5 million in pledges, the developers have been asking around to find out which games we'd like to see. After a free-for-all brainstorming session, the OUYA team has compiled the 20 most popular titles and opened up an online survey to measure interest. The list caters for almost all tastes, running from major AAA releases all the way down to indie darlings and, of course, Minecraft. While all of that's going on, developers are also putting their hands up to work with the new platform. Australian developer Morgan Jaffet is quoted as saying he and his studio, Defiant Development, is gung-ho for OUYA. Robert Bowling, president of New Californian studio Robotoki, has gone one step further, pledging $10,000 of his own money and promising to develop the first exclusive OUYA title. It's a prequel to Robotoki's upcoming Human Element, which isn't due out until 2015. Speaking of Fez and other indie darlings, the outspoken developer Phil Fish is making headlines over his studio's reaction to a decision made by Microsoft. Last month, Polytron finally released a long-awaited patch for Fez and then quickly retracted it once gamers discovered it contained an issue that corrupted saved game files. It's been a few weeks, but Polytron has now announced that it is re-releasing the patch, the broken one, because redeveloping and resubmitting a new version to Xbox would cost tens of thousands of dollars. The news divided the indie gaming community, with one side arguing that customers come first and accusing Fish of being too cheap to fix his own product, while the other side points the blame at Microsoft, suggesting that the company should not charge that sort of money for patches, particularly when it comes to indie games exclusively released via Xbox Live. A gamer has died in Taiwan after spending 40 hours solid playing Diablo 3. The 18-year-old man, known only as Chuang, checked into a private room in an internet cafe at lunchtime on Friday and was left to his own devices for most of the weekend. On Sunday morning, a cafe employee looked in on Chuang and found him resting on a table. The gamer woke up, took a few steps, and then collapsed. He was rushed to hospital and pronounced dead shortly after arriving. Cause of death is yet to be determined, but theories include cardiovascular problems, like a heart attack, or potentially a fatal blood clot. This is the second Taiwanese death linked to video games this year. In February, a man suffered a heart attack and was found dead in his chair after a 23-hour League of Legends marathon. To Hollywood now, where video games have been making a few waves. Firstly, from Comic-Con, we hear that the film adaptation of upcoming FPS Hawken is progressing nicely, with Scott Waugh signed up to direct. Waugh is one of the Bandito brothers, the directing team behind recent military flick Act of Valor, and he's pretty excited about this project, describing it as the next Star Wars. In less good news, also from Comic-Con, award-winning director Sam Raimi has announced that he is no longer attached to the long-overdue film based on Blizzard's Warcraft franchise. The game tie-in was first announced back in 2006 as a project partnership with Legendary Pictures. Raimi has been connected to the project since the early days, but it seems that the duties of an in-demand director have taken their toll. By choosing to focus on Oz the Great and Powerful, Raimi reports that Blizzard had to move on to another director and start work on the film. And a project making a jump in the other direction, Paramount Pictures has trademarked World War Z for a potential video game project in the not-so-distant future. The Max Brooks authored novel is headed to the big screen sometime next year, after 6 years in development hell, so the new game may potentially tie in with that rather than providing a standalone release. That was our first look at Lili, a brand new game for iOS from a brand new studio out of North Carolina. Lili is a quirky adventure RPG hybrid using Unreal Engine 3, something that developer Bit Monster Games should be well familiar with. All 6 members of the development team are former Epic Games employees, with histories covering Gears of War, Unreal Tournament and Infinity Blade, as well as Medal of Honor, Alice, Wolfenstein and Ghost Recon thrown in for good measure. Keep an eye out, Lili will be hitting the App Store in just a few weeks. On the App Store right now is the super cute new update for Train Conductor from the Voxel Agents. The traditional trains have been taken out of the equation and replaced with the happy dolphin, the cuddly koala, the grumpy snake, the colourful rosella and the sleepy platypus. It's all part of a new gameplay mode developed especially for kids. The Australian animal-influenced trains are a little bit bigger, a little bit slower, and a big lot cuter. The extra content is included as an in-app purchase, so just head to the settings screen and select the Kids Mode Cute Trains option. Another developer trying something new, Valve Software, which has confirmed that it is working on a version of its Steam client specifically for Linux operating systems. And what good is a Steam client without a game to go with it? Keep your eyes peeled, there is a version of Left 4 Dead 2 also in the works for Ubuntu. Fingers crossed they're both out by the end of the year, but be warned, the developers are not going to release anything until they are convinced the programs work just as well on Linux as they do on Windows. After years of being relegated to cult status, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is enjoying a brief crazy moment in the Western gaming spotlight. Not only is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle in the works at Namco Bandai, but this week we learned a remake of PS1 game JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is also underway thanks to Capcom. The creatively titled JoJo's Bizarre Adventure HD version is headed to Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network sometime in August. And finally this week, let's go back to Battlefield. EA is copping all sorts of flack from gamers following the premature announcement of Battlefield 4. Amid the accusations that developer DICE has dropped support for Battlefield 3 way too soon, the studio quietly released this new trailer for the game's 3rd downloadable expansion, Armored Kill. Due to the fact that tanks are somewhat larger than people, it's only fitting that a pack focusing on heavy vehicles would contain maps somewhat larger than those designed for soldiers on foot. Appropriately, Armored Kill will feature the Bandar Desert, officially the largest map in Battlefield history. There's also a new gameplay mode, more than 20 vehicle-specific unlocks, and 5 new drivable vehicles, including tanks, ATVs, and mobile artillery. If you're really keen, you also have the ability to spawn in the all-new gunship to rain death from above. Battlefield 3 Armoured Kill is out sometime in September, and remember, Battlefield 3 Premium members get their hands on the expansion a full 2 weeks earlier than anyone else. For the full version of those trailers, or for more information on any of these stories, head to playerattack.com. I'm Jessica Citizen. We'll see you next week.